Very interesting presentation, very innovative for my eyes. I've never seen something like this before. Congratulations. I now want to invite Associate Professor Yannis Deligiannis to be the chair of the next session. Was the last talk for the first session. Please, John, come and join us.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. And also, okay, yes. Because we have run out of time, I'm going to proceed directly with the next presentation. The title of the next presentation is 4D hypersphere perception and educational interactive VR application designed for TechnArtists. And the authors are Gounaropoulos, Gounaropoulos, our ex-president, and TechnArtists Kontardas.
Hello, good morning. Greetings, my name is Gounaropoulos. I am a PhD candidate at the Department of Audio and Visual Arts, Ionian University, under the supervisor of Emeritus Professor Nikolaos Gounaropoulos. I am delighted to present you our paper entitled 4D Hypersphere Perception of an Educational Interactive VR Application Designed by TechnArtists. This paper demonstrates a simulation of perceiving the intersection of a four-dimensional hypersphere with a 3D-dimensional space based on the work of Dr. Dimitrios Traperas and Professor Nikolaos Gounaropoulos. Topology provides a definition for a space with a dimension D as a space that can be partitioned to two smaller parts by a space of dimension d-1. For instance, a line can be partitioned to two parts by a single point. A plane can be partitioned to two parts by a line, and a three-dimensional space can be partitioned to two parts by a plane. Therefore, a four-dimensional space is defined as a space that can be partitioned into three-dimensional space by 3D space. In an n-dimensional space, every point can be uniquely identified by n coordinates. Therefore, each point of a 4D space can be distinguished by four coordinates x, y, z, and w. Within a four-dimensional space, a set of points that are equidistant from a specific point, known as the center, defines the 4D hypersphere, which, for simplicity, we are calling it hypersphere. It is analogous to the cycle in the dimensional space, two-dimensional space, and the sphere in the three-dimensional space. Consider figure A. See a sphere passing from left to right through a 2D space. That is a plane. Here we are. The sphere passes through a plane. The intersection of the sphere and the plane results a cycle which starts on the left as it touches the plane with a zero radius. We can see a point on the right-hand side grows to a cycle of maximum radius equal to the radius of the sphere. See the center diagram in figure A here. the point that grows up like a cycle, and here is the, from the front side, the maximum radius. And finally, as it exits the 2D space, on the right decreases to a point and disappears when the space completely passes through the plane. The cognitive perception of the hypersphere, as with other hypersolids, can be achieved by intersecting it with a three-dimensional space. Consider in a hypersphere in 4D space as shown in figure B. We don't know the shape. That's how it is blurred. Here is the 4D space, and here is the 3D space. When the hypersphere enters the three-dimensional space, that is, it intersects with the three-dimensional space, it appears as a sphere with an almost zero radius. This sphere then grows until it reaches its maximum radius, the radius of the hypersphere, and finally it decreases until it disappears and as it exits the 3D dimensional space. So on the right-hand side of the figure, here is the pass of the cross-section with a 3D space. The sphere here is in the center. It is stand still. It is fixed in its position. It grows and then decreases. The sphere then grows until it reaches its maximum radius, the radius of the hypersphere, and finally decreases until it disappears and exits in three-dimensional space, shown in the right-hand side of the figure. Please understand that the center of the 3D space that we see in passing through the 3D space on the right part of the B figure, it is fixed at the same position. Here it is. Xaris and Gounaropoulos developed a color-coded 3D sphere by creating a color code based on the principles of color mixing in the RGB scale that we see in this figure. To create the 3D color-coded sphere, every point of the sphere needs to be colored with a corresponding value using the RGB scale. That is, we imagine that at the center of the 3D space, the value coordinate is coded as 0, 0, 0, that is no color. The rules of color mixing in the RGB scale are then applied to determine the correct color for each point. On the right-hand side of the figure, we see the color-coded result on the surface on the 3D sphere. Here we are. Additionally, to apply this color-coding scheme to the third dimension, to the fourth dimension, we can represent the fourth dimension by employing one more color coordinate axis, namely the white one, as we can see in the next figure. Xaris and Gounaropoulos' method for perceiving the hypersphere involves coloring every point on the hypersphere based on its coordinates on the four axes. Specifically, the X dimension is represented by the red color, the Y dimension by green, and the Z dimension by blue. And the fourth dimension corresponds to white color. The intensity of each of four colors is proportional to the absolute value of the corresponding axis coordinate. For each point that lies on each of the four axes within the hypersphere, the color is constant and starts at zero intensity at the origin of the axis, that is 0, 0, 0, 0, and increases to its maximum intensity that the distance equal to the hypersphere radius. As can be seen in the middle sphere in this figure, that is the surface of the 3D sphere when it reaches the maximum radius value, here. Oops, sorry. All other points on the hypersphere are colored using the RGB color code mixing of the 4 colors, with the intensity corresponding to the X, Y, Z, and W values. Note that each of the 4 lines of this sequence correspond to the hypersphere entering the 3D space along the white, green, blue, and red dimension axis. TechnArtists and Gounaropoulos and Gounaropoulos have previously worked on visualize representing this 3D hypersphere coding schema in the installation using the Pepper's Ghost technique, as we can see in this photograph. In this installation, a holographic application projected the hypersphere video onto a reverse glass pyramid, providing a sense of a hypersphere's 3D cross-section as it passes through the 3D space. We propose that using virtual reality to train our brain on higher dimension, it is promising and innovative application that can help individuals develop their spatial reasoning skill, problem-solving abilities, and mental visualization. By simulating higher dimension in a virtual environment, user can practice navigating and manipulating complex geometric structures, which can enhance their cognitive abilities and improve their understanding of abstract concepts. This approach has the potential to rationalize education and training in fields such as mathematics, physics, engineering, and computer science, where higher dimension play a critical role. So we created an application which depicts an empty 3D space, black, where there is a point from which the color-coded hypersphere begins to enter the 3D space. The user can use buttons to choose the axis along which the hypersphere will enter the 3D space. In this figure, we see that the white axis button has been chosen. He can then interact with the color-coded hypersphere as it intersects with the 3D space, enter, exits, and rotates. As the hypersphere intersects and enters the 3D space, its mass increases, receiving the corresponding colors according to the TechnArtists color-coded method. As the sphere changes size, the color mix emerges in different combinations, indicating to us the steps of the hypersphere as it enters and exits the 3D space. It is also possible to rotate this hypersphere. In this slide, we see 4 different screenshots of visualizing the interception of the 4D hypersphere and the 3D space as it passes through along each of the 4 axes. It illustrates how the hypersphere can be perceived in the 3D world using virtual reality technology. The screenshots show the hypersphere traversing the 3D space along the red, green, and blue and white axes. The application was created using Unity platform game engine with virtual reality capabilities. The color coding effect was achieved by employing invisible monochromatic projector that illuminate the 3D sphere surface in every direction, X, Y, Z, and W. As the fourth spatial dimension is not easily perceived by the human brain, understanding the properties of hypersolids requires more than just topology. To bridge this gap, we propose merging technology and artistic knowledge to develop tools of extreme aesthetic value. As TechnArtists, we believe that by using virtual reality technology, we can create an immersive and interactive experience that helps user approach the cognitive perception of hypersphere. Our first application dealt with the perception of the four-dimensional hypersphere. It employs VR application to improve stimuli to our sensory system, creating a visual representation of the four-dimensional hypersphere. The user of this VR application explores and interacts with the hypersphere in a way that could not be possible otherwise. Thank you for your time. If we have a little more time to present you the...
We have 1 minute. Yes.
1 minute. Present the application.
Do you mind if I also ask a question?
I would like to have a mouse. Do we have mouse?
Let's have my mouse. We don't have at the moment mouse with us.
So
you're interacting with in a virtual reality environment with the sphere, okay, in order to project the 4D space.
yes,
Essentially.
this is the application. Now we can see how it enters and exits. Now the hypersphere exits. It enters the 3D space along with the white axis, vertically to the white axis, and then as it increases, the color are changing because it's colored by the intensity of the color. As it grows, the intensity gets more and more bigger. So we can rotate it, we can come close or go back. So we can see other axis enter. If the hypersphere enters the 3D space with the blue axis, vertically to the blue axis, this would be the color of this hypersphere. This is the result of the mixing colors according to the color coded. And so we have the same result by changing the other axis colors with other axes, like green, red, and blue. This is the application. We hope that this will develop a way to perceive the fourth spatial dimension. We don't know the results, but I think that it is a good tool to train our brain. So that's our work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions at this point, but I'm sure we can have questions at the break right after the session. So for the next session, I'd like to call the next presentation by Valia Kaimaki and Eva Bantiki, entitled Techno, Utopianism and Social Media, Examining the Promises, Fulfillment and Impacts in the 21st Century. Yes.
Thank you. Give me some time to prepare my